a way of thinking to explore your learning, an opportunity to gain self-knowledge, that's the most important part, at least for me, about reflective writing. A way to achieve clarity and better understanding what you are learning. A chance to develop and reinforce your writing skills. So reflective writing also helps us to write better, yes? And a way of making meaning out of what you study, okay? So, we have different types of reflective writing. Yes, we can do reflective writing in a variety of formats, in a variety of ways. So, first we have the basic one, that is journal. How many of you have a personal journal? A personal journal, like you write about your own life. Like today was a beautiful day, a sunny day, a hot day. It probably is not daily, but it's personal. So frequently, probably you write. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so here we have it. These examples are like classroom examples. So the journals, they require you to write weekly throughout the semester. So if you are working with journals in a class, well, at least they have to write weekly, yes? And then they may require you to base your reflection on a course. Then we have learning diary. So this learning diary is like similar to a journal, but in a collaborative way. The diary then becomes a place for you to communicate with other people in the group. Yes, so it is like a journal where everybody writes and everybody shares their learning experiences. A reflective note, it says that it's often used in law courses, and it encourages you to think about your personal relation with legal issues or something like that. Then the essay writing or the essay diary, it's a little bit longer, a more complex way of writing a diary. And it says that it can take the form of annotated bibliography. It is like when you want to write about, I don't know, some of us in academic courses, we have to write essays. So the annotated bibliography is like, okay, I read a text, I take some quotes, and then I make my reflection. So I can include my reflection in my essay. So that is kind of the essay diary. So depending on the course you are, probably you can make your students write on these essay diary. A peer review usually involves students showing their work to their peers for feedback. And self-assessment, that it requires you to comment on your own work. So I'm going to show you an example about what I do with some of my students in an academic writing class. I started doing this like 2 years ago, or 3 years ago probably. And this is something you can do for free. Yes, if you have Gmail accounts, there is like an app in Gmail that it's blog stop. So this is me. And I make my students write their paragraphs. Let me show you. Well, this, for example, this is a narration paragraph. So this is more like the last two parts of the journals that I show you, that it's peer review and self-evaluation. So for example, I make an introduction, and then the students have to write their own paragraph. So by the time they post their paragraph here, I have already checked it in class. They have shared it with their classmates. Their classmates make comments on their paragraphs, and then by the time they post it here, it is supposed that they make the corrections of their classmates and the teacher. So, for example, this student, he writes his paragraph, and then the person who revises his paragraphs in the class, he makes some comments and say that when you start mentioning the characters, it loses the coherence because you just mentioned the characters. And I see that you fixed the problem, like the correction that he did before, with the non-Disney characters. That is great. And you also added the word as at the beginning of the second character, and keep up with the good work. So This is in undergraduate students. They are in third semester. So they are just learning how to write. And then the person who posted the paragraph, he makes a reflection. And he says, thank you for your recommendations. They helped me to notice that I included non-Disney characters. I think I should check my ideas after finishing the paragraph to avoid the things that you mentioned at the beginning. And you're welcome. It's always good to check it twice and read it out loud. Things like that. So, little by little, at the beginning, I always tell when I work with my students in this activity, like, do not write silly things. You know, because I said, focus on the things that you need your classmate to check. Because sometimes they were like, I really like, when they are really good friends. I really love your paragraph. It is great. The story was great. And then the other, thank you for your great comments. And I was like, what did you reflect about? You didn't reflect about anything. You didn't make any cognitive process to write those comments. So please focus on the skills that we're learning in writing. So this actually helps the students a lot. First, because they think that they are doing it, they are not doing the common task in class, but they feel like they can publish it online, and they can even have the opportunity to write to read other paragraphs and also make comments, so they are free to do that. Yes. Also, there is an activity that I write at the beginning of the semester. There is a part in which I ask them to write what they feel about the course, how they see that the course will be, because it's academic writing. And many of them write like, oh no, it's really difficult, or I think it will be boring. And then at the end of the semester, I make them write another post. Like, okay, like now how you felt. First you have these thoughts, and now what you felt. So that is kind of a learning, a reflective post. Okay, so my teaching past. Yes. So here we have another question, because now it's the turn to reflect about our teaching. Okay. So how did I decide to become an English teacher? Okay. So again, you have 3 minutes to write in your paper. How did you decide to become an English teacher? Okay. Let's see if you can do that. You need paper? No, there is something for you. It's because there were some people who have not been working. to stand up? Yes, because if not, too much sitting, okay? So I want you to go with another person, not the person next to you, a different person, and share how you decided to become an English teacher. Yes? Okay? Okay, great. Yes, you can see. Yes, you can see. In a moment, we're going to go back to this piece of writing, okay? And we're going to reflect about what you wrote, okay? Because this, what you're doing is not perfected writing, not yet. This is just writing. This is just writing. I'm pretty sure that it's not perfected writing. Yes. What did you learn about the others? Do you have anything in common? Yes? Or no? What did you learn? Well, what did you learn?
That he loves teaching.
He loves teaching. Yes?
Well, I learned from my partner. They're totally different because in my case, I choose to be an English teacher. I like to be an English teacher, but she's an architecture. And an architect, I'm sorry. But she said that now that she started like English teacher, she enjoyed it a lot.
Okay, very good. Any other thing that you learned about how we become English teachers?
Well, it's one way or the other.
One way or the other, like
Either you love your teachers and that's why you want to become a teacher, or you have really bad teachers
and you want to change
and
the
you want
world?
to change. Yeah, you want to make the difference.
You want to make the difference. Is anybody here, or was anybody here pushed to study teaching? Define push. Yes?
Kind of, because
Kind of?
in my family there are a lot of teachers. So they try to like convince me like, hey,
Like to convince you.
you have to teach something.
You have to teach
Well, I decide to. It's not bad, so I can do it.
But did you study to be a teacher?
Yeah.
Or you study something else and then suddenly became a teacher?
No. I decided to study to become an English teacher.
Okay. And now you like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really love it.
Yes, I think once you start teaching, you get involved and you really love teaching because teaching is very nice.
It's fun. It's fun. It's tiring and it's tiring, but it's fun most of the time. Most of the time, it's fun. So yes, there are many factors that make us to become English teachers. Sometimes the family, like there are a lot of teachers in your family, and it's not that they pressure you, but sometimes you live in the teacher's environment, surrounded by books and exams in papers that it was my case. My father is a teacher, so I always lived surrounded like with los registros y los promedios y like, mijita, help me. Ayúdame a revisar porque, yes, because they had like tons of groups. So we grew up in that environment, so sometimes it's like in our blood. Yes, we cannot avoid that. Sometimes it's what she said, we had an inspiration and we had a teacher that really inspired us, and we sometimes we say like, oh, I just want to be like him or like her. Or we had the bad teachers and they say, okay, I want to change the world. Yes. Sometimes we had other circumstances. Yes, we studied to be an architect, or we studied to be an engineer, or we studied to be something else, and we end up being teachers. Yes. So there are a lot of factors that make us become teachers. And when we share these experiences, we can know that there is a great variety of backgrounds when it comes to teachers. Okay, so what is the process? Now we're getting into the process of reflective writing. So reflective writing, it is presented as a series of simple to follow steps addressed to a teacher who has not previously writing reflectively. Probably most of us, yes? The steps involve writing responses to a short series of essential questions, okay? So, first, these are 4 questions, basic questions that we need to answer in order to write reflective. If you notice the question that I asked you, probably the second one, how? How did you become an English teacher? But we have others that we didn't answer, yes? So first we have, what happened? So in the last question, what happened? I became an English teacher, yes? So you have, write a description of the incident, topic, or the problem. So first I have to write, I became an English teacher, and it has been the best thing I have ever done, or I became an English teacher, and it's the worst decision I have taken, yes, or I have been an English teacher and whatever, right? So first you start describing the problem or the event, okay? Then how did it happen? Yes? So first we have, I became an English teacher. And then we have, how did it happen? Probably most of you, I told you like, how did you become an English teacher? And probably you didn't focus that much on the how, but on the what. Yes? So when we say, how did it happen? Why I end up being an English teacher? And then you start saying this thing about, well, I grew up in a family full of teachers and they tried to convince me, or I had this teacher, and you start telling the story about how this happened. So this is like the first step on the commentary on your first piece of writing. Then, why did it happen? Writing again, but try to explain your earlier pieces of writing. But this why is like reflecting. Probably I can say, like thinking about the past. Like first, I decided to be an English teacher because I really like learning. In my case, if I can tell you the story just without reflecting, I will say like, well, I wanted to be an English teacher because I wanted to be a teacher first. I knew that I was sure that I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't want to be a teacher of math or